everybody. Welcome in. It is time for Crown Jewel preview and predictions. I am Matt Camp. Thank you for being with me. As I tend to show up here before these pay-per-views, these premium live events. Excuse me, it's a WWE show. I better say it the right way. I should remember. But here's what's interesting about this show. As we have seen, Rumble or Mania or SummerSlam, the bigger shows, but everything in between has seemed to kind of settle in at about 5 matches, maybe 6. And when this hits the air tomorrow, we're going to be into November. November is a double pay-per-view premium live event month for WWE, with Survivor Series coming up at the end of November. So I assumed, I think like a lot of us, if I'm wrong, let me know in the chat, this would not be a very big show. It kind of feels like these Crown Jewel championship matches for a title that I'm not sure is going to mean anything come Sunday morning. That's 2 of the matches. Cody's and Gunther is a cold program, and I'm frankly surprised, and I'll get into this a little bit more as we talk about the match, that they're even doing it with not big enough stakes. Liv and Nia, not as big of a deal because they faced off before. But I'm a little surprised that this card is now 7 matches. Now, they didn't wait for Friday's SmackDown. And it's a tape show, and I'm not going to spoil it here, but it seemed like they didn't fully connect Roman and Jay before they announced that 6-man, I assume, maybe 3 versus 4, who knows, OG Bloodline versus current day Bloodline matchup. They announced that via social media, I believe, on Monday. I'm a little surprised that is announced before Roman and Jay had a proper, I'll just say, conversation. I'm not even saying it has to be a peace agreement. I think it's just a conversation, a legitimate conversation, and they haven't gone there yet. But it's a 7-match card, and as I was getting ready for this show, I kind of looked and said, on paper, there's some real good stuff on here. There's some stuff that is very, very, very Saudi offerings. Stuff that you're like, oh, yeah, that makes sense for a Saudi show. Like Logan Paul and Cody did earlier this year. Sure, put it on that show. But does it have to be anywhere else? Anything big? No, not really. So let's get into the card. Let's get into the card here as I bring this one up here. I think it's the match I'm most interested in. Amazingly so, or maybe not so amazingly so. I am very much looking forward to Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens. It hasn't happened that often, amazingly enough. They've never had a proper feud before. And I absolutely love how Kevin Owens is being presented right now. Kevin Owens is basically being presented as this chaos within WWE that they feel like they need to keep under their thumb. And it didn't start that way. And this is just my read on it. Kevin was sent down this path by Cody agreeing to and then tagging with Roman Reigns. And Kevin was rightfully so upset about that because he has been, since the beginning, the one constant opponent of the bloodline, which started, of course, with Roman Reigns or any variation of the bloodline. So to see someone he considers a friend, someone who he backed up, someone who he partnered with, found an ally with to take down the bloodline, it doesn't happen the first chance. Yes, Kevin and Sami won the tag titles, but they were not successful in helping Cody win the title from Roman the next night. And a year later, Cody is successful. And yet, 6 months after that, the golden victory is achieved. Roman's reign is over. 6 months after that, Cody Rhodes agrees to tag with Roman Reigns. And amazingly enough for Kevin, even after Cody beat Roman Reigns, Kevin got tied up with the new bloodline. So his life dealing with the various members and iterations of the bloodline, while it's had its ups and downs, he's never been able to escape them. And here is Cody willingly showing trust, pity, sympathy for Roman Reigns. And so Kevin was upset and attacked him. And they don't put that on social media. They let the fans handle that on social media. And you get one tweet from Triple H about it. And then they try to bring it up on Raw. And, we can't talk about that. And all of a sudden, this is not just about Kevin Owens being mad at Cody Rhodes. Why does the company want to kind of keep this hush-hush? And Kevin would address that via his social media, indicating something's going on. They don't want me there. They don't want me in the building. They didn't want... And he shows up and he interrupts that tag match, and I'm not supposed to be here, and blah, blah, blah. And there comes Cody with no music, which I loved. He's mad. He wants to go after Kevin. And Randy gets in between it. Randy tries to be the peacemaker, and Kevin doesn't like that. And then they get in a fight backstage, and Kevin takes him out. So Kevin is taking his rage out all over the place. But then on SmackDown last week, they furthered this company narrative towards Kevin Owens by having Randy stop at Gorilla to talk to Triple H before he goes out. Then he calls out Triple H, and Triple H comes out, and automatically, at least to me, this becomes more important. We've seen Triple H do Are You Ready and all that stuff and be at an NXT show to open up the show and make his media appearances. But in terms of being actually involved in the day-to-day storylines, he hasn't been. And it's been very well represented when you see him, what he means to the company. He's the chief content officer. He's running creative. So they've, made a point to say, this is the guy that writes it. He's very much in a Dana White role. He's kind of sending everything where it's going to go, and he's the face of it in that way. But he hasn't really been a character within the show. So Randy calling him out automatically made me go, hold on a second. There's more to this. And I say that because Hunter made a point to tell Randy, hey, you were out for a while. I don't want that to happen again. Which to me right there, A, shows that he is protecting what he perceives to be an asset for the company, and Randy Orton is. And B, you're telling Randy that Kevin Owens can take him out. And you're telling the world that we're worried about Kevin Owens taking out Randy. Which is similar, if you want to connect the dots, to why the company would be worried about taking out Cody Rhodes. So now Kevin's volatility and maybe some justification for why he's gone after Cody and Randy has become a liability in the eyes of WWE. And this story gets a little deeper and a little more complicated now. Why are they getting so involved? Why don't they try to stop the bloodline? And I love Kevin to say that. You don't let me show up at the building. You can let these guys run the show for 3.5 years. Why? Oh, I know. Because of money. Because of what they drew. No, I'm not the poster boy for the company. I do my media in my car. You know why? I want to go home to my family when my job is done here. So no, I'm not your pretty face. I don't wear the 3-piece suits. None of that. But I fight. And I fight for what I believe is correct. And that brings us to this match with Randy, which is a very good match on paper, which I will hope brings a little bit more of that heel Randy Orton out. because I think, along with many others, thought Randy would eventually turn heel and challenge Cody for the title and be a great opponent for him to have, even maybe to take the title off him for a little bit. But now Kevin being thrown into this and getting a chance to show just how good he is in this role is awesome. And there's one other part to this I'm going to get to coming up when we get to the Bloodline match as it relates to Kevin Owens. Very good match here. I think Kevin should win. I think he should win. Let's move on here. Aha! The United States champion, LA Knight, putting it on the line against both Carmelo Hayes and Andrade. The three of these guys have been intertwined, but mostly because of the Carmelo and Andrade best of 7, which has not been presented on a week format of match, next week match. No, it's been more organically constructed. Like, they didn't start their first match going, this is best of 7. It kind of turned into that as they continued to have issues. And as instead of building that to a pay-per-view match, it was more about who can one-up each other because they were getting very close. And, it's 2-1, it's 2-2. They did a good job with that. I don't know if it's helped their characters all that much. And then LA Knight's kind of been involved because both guys have gotten their chances at LA Knight, and he's messed up the match. And so now he puts his title on the line. I don't think it's been the hottest reign for LA since defeating Logan Paul. I think that's due to a lack of depth on the SmackDown roster right now. I wish he had someone who could go toe-to-toe with him on the microphone. And the bottom line is I don't think either one of these guys can do that. You got to be able to match LA on the microphone. A Miz can do that. He did that and maybe beat him if, Logan Paul can do that. I don't think those guys that we're looking at here in Andrade and Carmelo are on that level in terms of being talkers. So it's been more based around, one-upping and who's better and in the ring stuff. And that's fine. I don't think LA loses here, but I wonder if they break this off into additional singles matches down the road. I'll say LA retains. Let's move on. So the women's tag team titles are going to be on the line. A lot of talent in this match. Obviously got the champs, Bianca and Jade. Love Chelsea and Piper. Io and Kyrie. And then what appears to be, after I took a perusal down the Superstars page on WWE.com, a no longer NXT team of Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend. They got just kind of moved up here, and they've had their opportunities, and here they are. And all of a sudden, they're going to Saudi Arabia, and they are on this show. What a PLE main roster debut for them. These titles, I don't think anybody really looks upon them as if they are that important or that serious. They feel like they're trophies over the arms of two superstars in Bianca and Jade that feel like they should be doing more and they should be moving on to bigger things. Perhaps a feud that they could build against each other at WrestleMania next year. I don't know. Just throwing it out there. But it feels like they've been stuck in this tag team purgatory, and they should be doing more. It feels like far too often that these tag team titles, these specific set of the women's tag team titles, are contested in a match like you're seeing here. 3 ways, 4 ways, whatever. Putting teams together late in the game for challengers, all that stuff. Jakara and Lash, when they got their title shot, they didn't even win anything to get it. They hadn't won in forever. So there's been a lack of care. Now, I could say that and then go, hey, sometimes builds aren't everything. I see a lot of talent in this match. I see a massive opportunity for Jakara and Lash to really make an impact here. I would probably put the titles on Chelsea and Piper because I think they're a great tandem, and I think it gives them a reason to always be on the show, and they should always be on the show because they're so much fun. And though them with any kind of confidence in addition to the confidence they always have, whether they win or lose. But to be able to show those titles off, like they are a better fit to be a tag team versus Jade and Bianca, who should be doing bigger things on their own. Even if they're affiliated as friends, they should both be doing way more as singles. You can also get the titles off of Jade and Bianca by not even having them get pinned in this match. If somebody pins Jakara or Lash, great. Doesn't hurt Jade or Bianca. The titles move around, but I don't think Bianca and Jade need them anymore. Let's move on from that one. Let's go to this one. Seth Rollins and Big Bronson Reed in arguably the longest builds of any match on this show and one of the best builds of any match on this show. WWE has made it clear with their presentation and booking of Big Bronson Reed that they want him to be a player. And to Bronson Reed's credit, he has delivered. So in the chat just said, Bronson got to get the first W. I agree. I don't think we've seen somebody, and I know it's not like he's just come around the company, and I know it's far from a done deal, but the booking of Bronson Reed in the last couple of months has been excellent. Excellent. You want to make a monster heel? Here you go. Squishing people, taking out Seth, beating a bigger man in Braun Strowman, becoming this force of destruction in the ring, breaking the walls, throwing fans, jumping off of barricades, jumping off of retaining walls, onto cars, Death Valley drivers out of production trucks in this stuff. Bronson Reed has developed this reputation of when he shows up on screen, something crazy is going to happen. And you can't do stunts every week. But the threat of that being there and him embracing that, calling out Seth from the parking lot last week as a heel, inviting the fight, not for a sneak attack, but to go, hey, I'm out here. Let's go. And they did. And he eats a big stomp and he looks like he's dead and he comes back. And he takes out Seth. And Seth Rollins, a WrestleMania main eventer multiple times, one of the greatest resumes you will ever see, a man who has done far more than Bronson Reed has done in his career, is going into this match with sympathy, hurt, and maybe even as an underdog. It's at least a pick 'em. That's the great job that's been done with Bronson Reed. That's the great job that Seth Rollins has done in selling for Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed has developed this reputation. And I compare it a little bit, and I said this on some of my shows earlier, but I compare it a little bit to Stone Cold, the monster truck, the pickup truck, the Zamboni, the beer truck. What wild thing is he going to do? Braun Strowman at the beginning of his real singles push of, feats of strength and crushing the set and all that stuff. Oh, what that? Flipping a car, flipping an ambulance, whatever it may be. It was cool to see. And Bronson is kind of going there as well, where there's a pretty good chance he's going to do something wild or someone's going to do something wild to him. That's somebody who makes you sit up and pay attention. That makes him somebody who you want to see. And I want to see Bronson Reed win this match because I think he needs to. And I think it's a huge statement if he can beat Seth clean 1, 2, 3 this weekend. And it won't hurt Seth at all. And they might have something in Bronson Reed. All right, let's move on to this one. Oh, I did that already. Let's go to this one. Excuse me. For the first ever crown jewel champion of the women, The WWE Women's Champion Nia Jax takes on the WWE Women's World Champion Liv Morgan. I don't care about this title. I don't care about the one that Cody and Gunther are facing off for. Because until they tell me that it means something or it earns you something, it's a Saudi Arabia title to me that we won't talk about until next year. Now, they've made pretty good efforts to make something of this story, even though you have two heels here. With what's going on with Rhea and Dom and Raquel and Liv, and what's going on with Nia and Tiffany, and then to mix it all up together. They've done an okay job with that, admittedly. Now, if you hadn't heard, Rhea Ripley got taken out by Liv and Raquel while she was visiting at NXT on Tuesday, which was reported by WWE as a broken orbital bone, and apparently that is legitimate. They just did the attack to cover an injury that had happened in the last week or so. So Rhea is legitimately out. Now, I thought it was interesting that they had Damian take out Dom in the way they did, because I thought that might wipe him out of this match, but we'll see if that's the case. But you do know that Liv won't have to worry about Rhea in this matchup. I think it's better for Nia to win. I think it's more believable to Nia to win, and I think with the additions of Raquel in the mix, and of course Tiffany potentially cashing in, if Rhea's out for a couple of months, is it okay to get the title off of Liv? We'll see. I think it's better for Nia to win this one, and I think it means a little bit more. I think Liv can afford the loss because her stuff's really not about the title right now. It's about everything else. All right. So I'm not going to spoil SmackDown. It felt like they left something that wasn't a piece of the story that wasn't told before they made the match. Let's leave it lit. Let's leave it right there. A piece of the story I hope is told on SmackDown. How are Jay and Roman cool enough that this match could get announced after Raw? I'm frankly surprised this is happening at all. I thought this whole thing would get saved for Survivor Series, but it is a Saudi Arabia show, and Roman tends to be on those. So he's back. They did not want to wait to Friday to promote it because it's a Roman Reigns match. It's the biggest ongoing story in the company. So they wanted to promote it. It just felt like, hey, Roman and Jay are probably doing another conversation. And based on the conversation between Jay and Jimmy on Monday night, you know, they got through to each other, especially Jay, of, hey, you know, if we're going to do this again, we're going to do this knowing that we're still guys who could do it on our own. We might stand beside each other, but this is about what we've done. We're cousins, and no longer do people mix up who we are. We've done it on our own. And I like that. And I have said over and over and over again that Roman has to show some respect, some admiration, and acknowledgement of Jey Uso. Maybe that'll happen on Friday night. Now, people are asking who the fourth is. As far as I know, this is a 6-man tag match, and the Bloodline will pick their fourth. I don't know if Jacob Fatu is allowed to travel because of some past legal issues, legitimately. So maybe that's why you're seeing all 4 men on this poster right here. But this is, I would be shocked if this just wasn't a taste of what we're going to get later on in November in what I would expect to be all 7 of these guys and very likely Sami Zayn involved. Because they started planting those seeds on Monday, and that was beautifully done. Does Sami back up Jay because it's his boy and swallow the fact that he has to tag with Roman? He made a point to say to Jay, hey, I don't care if Solo's worse than Roman. Why do you have to take any sides? Does that make Sami Zayn the sting in the rafters of all of this? Sting was burned by WCW back then because NWO had the fake Sting and people didn't believe Sting was with WCW. So he said, screw it, I'm not on anybody's side. And he went to the rafters, only to come back and whatever the hell happened with him and Hogan at Starrcade 97. Something about a 10 and I don't know, a karate guy, a mortgage broker. Does Sammy abstain? Does Roman, Jay, and Jimmy find somebody else? Or does Sammy find his way onto that side and say to Roman, listen, I'll do this, but I'm done after this. And I'm not really doing it for you. I'm doing it for Jay. This match doesn't feel as much of a match as it does part of the angle as a whole. I got to say the new bloodline kind of has to win based on that. But we will see. And finally, for the other title that we really don't know all that much about other than like how it's made and all the diamonds and crystals and the fact that it's called the first ever Crown Jewel Championship and it will be contested every year at Crown Jewel. I have a tough time, and I asked the chat watching live, do you care about this? Do you care about this championship? I care about this match. I've cared about this match ever since Cody and Gunther were at the end of the Royal Rumble in 2023. I cared about the prospect of this match right here happening at a SummerSlam. I think it would be, I had always thought, when Cody becomes champion, a great big-time heel opponent that can be built up and put up against him on a SummerSlam who could legitimately take a championship from him would be Gunther. I thought that last year. Cody needed a whole other year to beat Roman. Of course, Gunther was kept away from Cody, and now he is the world champion. So the first time we're going to get this match one-on-one, neither championship is on the line. Neither one of these men has been defeated in singles action since becoming champion. Yes, Cody's been pinned by Solo at Money in the Bank. Gunther has lost to one person on Raw or SmackDown, Sami Zayn. I don't like the idea of this match right here, which is a big money match, giving us a loss that really doesn't matter. If Cody loses to Gunther, he didn't lose anything. And if Gunther loses to Cody, maybe it reinforces the belief that he's got the title in WWE. The first time these two guys face off, it should be a bigger deal. That win and that loss should matter. And I don't feel like it does. And I don't feel like it is wasting the first ever meeting between these two guys. I lean towards Gunther because he really doesn't have anything else going on right now, whereas Cody will probably get back involved with KO. If you believe the rumors, KO and Cody will happen at Saturday night's main event. I think Gunther needs this more. And I think, at least in storyline, Gunther has been presented as, if not a stronger champion than Cody Rhodes. And yes, I said that. I know the actual perception. But in terms of storyline, Gunther has every right to say he is just as good, if not a better champion than Cody Rhodes. So all that'll be coming your way, Crown Jewel predictions. I'm pretty sure I'll be back here with Ryan as soon as Crown Jewel's over into the main event to talk about the rest of the show on Saturday. Make sure you're following me. Subscribe at thewrestlingmatchshow.com. Always there every single weekday. I appreciate you joining us here. Enjoy Crown Jewel on Saturday, and I will talk to you next time.